our readers and viewers for the Boston Poetry Marathon 2020. I am Suzanne Mercury, and our technical host is Chad Parenteau. I want to thank you, Chad, for being here. You have been amazing, and I want to thank my fellow organizers for this year's Boston Poetry Marathon online, Christina Liu, Xtina Strong, and especially Bridget, Eileen. You guys are awesome. This has just been a really beautiful experience. I want to also thank all of our volunteers for the weekend: Tom Daly, Tim Gager, Gilmore Tamney, Joe Elliott, Douglas Rothschild, and again, Chad. Chad did a wonderful thing, acted as special assistant to Carol Weston so that she could participate, and she just gave an amazing reading last night. So I'm really grateful for that. We are streaming live to our Facebook page at Boston Poetry Marathon, our Twitter via Periscope at Boss Poetry Mara, and live on our YouTube channel. For links to these broadcasts, please go to our WordPress, bostonpoetrymarathon.wordpress.com/watch. This year's Boston Poetry Marathon is a fundraiser for local organizations that work for racial justice in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. All donations are going to go to Sister Fire, Rhode Island, and the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts. I want to say that the response to the fundraiser has just been very moving. You guys are wonderful. I love my community. Thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts for your generous donations. Admission, of course, is free, but a $10 or more donation to our fundraiser is recommended and appreciated. Please go to the WordPress again, bostonpoetrymarathon.wordpress.com/donate for more information on how to contribute to these organizations. Just go to the pinned post or the bios and media for these links as well. Though we can't be together in person for these readings or the breaks between, we encourage all of our participants and our viewers to share their selfies, screenshots, photos, comments, memories, anything you want on our social media. Please use the hashtag Boston Poetry Marathon. That would be awesome. And tag us at Boston Poetry Marathon on Instagram and Facebook, and at Boss Poetry Mara on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. And again, thank you everyone who's been posting and retweeting. You guys are amazing. This is a reminder to our readers, you have 5 minutes, and the 5 minutes starts as soon as you begin speaking. So any intros to your poems or anything like that is part of the 5-minute reading. I've got my little device and I'm going to time you. So make sure that your chat window is open right now. When you have 1 minute left, I will type in 1 minute in the chat. When you have 30 seconds left, I will type in 30 seconds. At 5 minutes, I'll have to interrupt you and introduce the next reader. If you finish before the 5 minutes, I will thank you, and then I will introduce the next reader. Let's see. Sounds like everyone has a pretty good connection. We've been chatting, but if your connection is bad during your reading, I may have to interrupt you to let you know, and we'll troubleshoot that. Make sure your camera is directed to your face and especially your mouth, and please also make sure that you are well lit. I'm going to introduce the readers of the hour right now, and this is also a soundtrack, so reader, when I say your name, just shout out, give a short greeting so that we check your sound. Everyone ready? Darren Black.
Good afternoon, all.
Hello. Shari Caplan. Shari Caplan, are you here?
I'm right here.
Beautiful. There, great. Yep, we can hear you. Clay Ventre.
Oh, what's up?
All right. Sawako Nakayasu.
He has not shown up yet.
Not shown up yet. Melissa Christine Goodrum. Not shown up yet. Jennifer Martelli.
Hello.
Hey. Martha Collins.
Hello.
Hey. Kat Dossett.
Hi.
And Simeon Berry.
Hello, this is the sound of my voice.
Oh, beautiful. You sound great. Okay, let me just quickly go over here. So the first reader, tech host, please switch the speaker view to speaker view, excuse me, God. And let us know when that's all set. Yep, we're in speaker view right now. Our first reader of the hour is Darren Black.
Thank you so much, Suzanne, and thank you to all the organizers for all of your dedication and hard work to keeping our community going in this opportunity. I have 3 short poems. This first one I want to read for Bridget Eileen in answer to a poem she read on Thursday. Light and dark. Bear the weight of the black-capped chickadee as a branch would, not ready to let go. Memory shrills, gold swirling in the lammas leaves. Listen to the reedy sun call, low whistle to the dark. To name the year in this way, with 2 throats. A god is dead, a goddess lives. Open to its ancient phrase, with a green face crowned with brambles. Clothe yourself in the alder's shadow. How to love a mermaid. Replace reason with the green swells of algorithms foaming to meet your rocky perch. The possibility of a tail, scaled curves or eyes, urchin colored, incalculable, await. A chance crease in the current may gesture you in. Don't offer shells. There will be time enough to build and alter. Don't offer birds, tiny lives that puzzle over the silver hail of bullet fish below. A driftwood crown will not woo her to speak her name. Gather mists to scale your skin. Instead, listen for the gasps of waves. Turn your back to the shore, the tongue of smoke, uneven teeth of buildings. The moon will choose you soon enough. And my final poem, Quarantine Window. Mud of cold coffee, low tide. In the cove, clouds clear, morning throats, spit drops staccato. Prayer against our kitchen pane. Another nest is slowly built of forks and knives, cups parked in the sink, hours quantified. The newly infected, the hospitalizations, the ones who have died alone. We eat more greens, take more vitamins, our hair grows wild. We leave our pajamas on for work, grateful to be avatars, squares, barely noticed in a grid, dissolving in the evening light. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Darren Black. And next up is Shari Caplan. Let's hear it for Shari.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here, however you are being here virtually. It's awesome to get to still do this, even though it's a little bit different this year, still really fun. So this first poem, all you need to know is that Hannah and Sarah are my nieces, and the chair described in this poem is actually a real chair that you can see at the Children's Museum when we're going to museums again. Lesson in Zoology at the Children's Museum. A private collector requested endangered skin be stitched to a chair by the best hands in France. My nieces and I agree it's not nice or pretty. The heart beast with humble tastes and a name too carnal and Germanic for its Savannah stripes. The chair has been intercepted by the museum, but no one confiscates his desire. Such a man cuts the dark eyes out of birch trees, wears knives precise to history as if to recreate it. Strangers ask my sister what she is, where from, out in Boston. In New York, she answered model calls, but was sent back too blonde or too ethnic. American alligator skin, Nile crocodile, Canadian moose throne. I wonder what a man thinks between the horns. Sarah learns to draw each animal, following circles in the menagerie book. My hand on the defiant dandelions of Hannah's head. She calls always for the opposite of our plans. Sarah finds another interest, a model heart. This chair lived in a dark room pierced with heads, velvet brown after a hemorrhage, glass eyes conducting internal examinations. Hannah wanders to the taxidermy lioness frozen in a roar, sisters in golden coats. Look into her mouth, girls. Listen.
Excuse me, Shari, your connection
The
is
next
sounding
one.
very, very rough. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Is it
Yeah.
possible for you to move to maybe a better spot? Is it your internet connection? Because you're really going in and out.
Okay. You
I'm
know,
sorry to interrupt you.
I'll try from my phone. I think that might
Actually, you
work
sound
better.
great right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is so weird. Let's continue and see if this continues to. But for a
Okay.
while there, you were going in and out. I will mute now. Let's see what we can do.
Okay. This is Catherine de Medici on her retinue of bears. Also a true story. I go to Stead, pitted all over with pearls, like Cassiopeia, leading an army of Ursa Majors.
I'm sorry. You're. It's funny. The moment you start reading the poem, it starts happening again.
Dang. Okay, I'm
Um,
gonna try. I'll try from my phone. Why
do you
don't
want to do that? Okay, that would be great.
move to someone?
Do you
Come
want
back me.
to? Do you want to move to the next person? Then we'll tuck you in after.
Let me try to join right now because I've got it open just in
Okay.
case.
I'm going to pause the
This
timer
happened.
then.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's just that it's the weirdest thing when you're just talking. You sounded great, and then when you started reading the poem, suddenly everyone went crunchy. Yep. Okay. I see you.
Okay, how's that?
That's beautiful.
Lovely.
I think
Okay.
we're okay. Great.
Thank you for that quick on the fly troubleshooting. Okay, so this is Catherine de Medici on her retinue of bears. And she actually did have 7 bears as part of her procession when she went to meet Henry II, who she was going to marry. I go to Stud, pitted all over with pearls, like Cassiopeia leading an army of Ursa Majors. My step darker their shadows behind me on the bridge of marriage. If you had to shear your own hair and hide in a habit to avoid the brothel, how many brothers would you tug from the forest as proof? No man will enter this aura without being pierced. I have 7 husbands, each hairier than the last, led by the nose as if to honey. Honeyed cascade of my train dragging across marble. If you were threatened at age 13 with being stripped, set atop a city wall for target practice, what would it require for you to glide a foreign road with neck erect as a sword? I step lighter with maulers clinking behind me on their chains. As I have done to them, Henri, I can do to you. And the last one is part of a series on the female gaze. So it includes a combination of Erasure of the Debutante by Leonora Carrington and a letter she wrote to Remedios Vara, another surrealist painter. Leonora Carrington on the female gazelle. Envision bars and bars of unsung creatures at the zoo. Men like hyenas in suits stalk. Gaze the gazelle long of leg,
not longing. It is wrong to eat animals when they are so difficult to chew anyway. When I was pregnant, men didn't masticate about me. I painted so beautifully when I was pregnant, my eyes like pits of apricots with all that glow to gleam in. My belly was another eye, lidded tight, peering into a studio where sunlight strolls a bold idea around the room several times. I tumesced into invisibility, refreshing as limonada. No men asked me to fetch their cigarettes. I painted so fully when I was pregnant, paintings drying like cakes and blocks, stacks and stacks of marzipan. I will not apologize for wearing wings in place of my back. Simply envision a great leap and disappear. Thank you.
Thank you, Shari Caplan. And again, my apologies for having interrupted you during your connection. That was a beautiful reading. Next up is Clay Ventre. Let's hear it for Clay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to read again. Barbara Bain's first husband. There was a theory in bone reading class that Martin Landau's whole reason for being was to be mistaken for some other actor after his death. Like we're supposed to keep saying, isn't that Martin Landau? Or let's screw till our eyes glaze over and forget to finish the job because Martin Landau might almost be in that movie in the other room. Or won't there always be more to acting than just a group of mouths smashing words together? Martin Landau didn't do that. And didn't Martin Landau captain an obdurate moon, and wasn't that worth a seat at the table at the Idiosyncratics Club? These are real questions, and there will be those who want to profit off this confusion. Split it like atoms for fuel to launch us all into a mini-series about finally getting to Mars and deafen us with whispered rumors that the old world was a stage and Martin Landau was around every corner. This is called Mid-Century Art Show with Bullets. That chair really helps the world forget the last war. Thanks for the all caps revelation about Whitman, his machine gun, his sidekick, the Aviator X. Thanks for all the revolutionary zeal. All the pointy pitchforks were a fine way to say it, and the execution was a relief, really. And the fire, a nice touch, the flame-proof ideas falling with singeing after the ropes burned away. After the firebombing in Dresden, an examination of the blackened residents showed no evidence of that cult-like behavior. So all our backbones make a church. We know now the correct appreciation of architecture is a mailman tripping forever over a skateboard. This is called On Writing. You live inside the best machine, she said. It's not so great, he said. Your machine is better. I don't live in a machine, she said. I live in a constant wedding. Well, mine is an endless funeral, he said. I am tethered to nothing, she said. I am a four-legged beast in a ballroom, she said with her teeth this time. Yes, you are, he said. Lucky that way, he said. Then a thing they could both agree as tragic, they being poets, happened. And it had something to do with a horrible editor. And they looked for the consolation of 100 old conductors, found none, landed hard, and climbed out of their conversation like two cosmonauts from a burning capsule. That's my last one. It's called My Fake Door is Sadder Than All the Fake Doors There Ever Were. Like we all die into an ocean for reals and only once, and all the while a slow-moving postal truck loaded with counterfeit Mona Lisas breaks our efforts at avoiding endings and never stops to deliver anything. We stupid all over the place like rudderless fire trucks, halting against an invisible leash of feeling and backward over the shoulder little kid glances. We'll have to wait till old age to mourn properly. It gets worse, and for extra sadness, imagine all the outside is a home surrounded by fire, with all the world's clueless parents inside. Or behold, the baby orphan penguin placed with human mother hands on the beach to waddle off into the ocean forever gif, over and over. Yeah, we can guess the little guy is off gnawing on squid and ninja dodging sharks, while the rest of us sink on our own personal Titanics, but probably not. Drowning is a thing we do after all the commercial interruption, and all that drilling for oil is only the periphery of every notion worth having we'll never have. A lifetime lived of penguin hesitation, and we're not getting any sleep at all. Thanks.
Beautiful. Thank you, Clay, for your reading. Next up is Sawako Nakayasu, but she hasn't made it in. We're hoping that we'll be able to schedule her later in the evening. So next up is Melissa Christine Goodrum. Say hello to Melissa.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me. So let's begin. So I've been thinking a lot about recent events and responding to them through poetry. Black Xtina, or the Afro-Asiatic roots of contemporary fear. In 6th grade, we studied ancient Egypt and ancient Greece all year long. All 3 sections engaged, almost 90 eager child brains, and we were beyond elated to learn about the science of mummification, death rituals, wedding rituals, political conflicts, the ingenious beginnings of writing, the beauty and breadth of the art, hieroglyphics, the poised statues of the inventors of democracy, the complicated beginnings of mathematics, and the lasting scope of the carved columns of architecture. At the end of the unit, we held a wedding for Xtina and King Tut, a celebration of the union of our knowledge of both cultures through food, handmade costumes, our imitative paintings, death jars, several model pyramids, and wobbly Parthenons. We were serious about the pomp and recorded the final ceremony. It really pissed my mother off, and I wondered why her teeth were softly grinding out a smile as I gestured with my hands and narrated the tales of what we had learned each day. She usually enjoyed these reports. One day when I came home, she said, "I have a little homework for you. I want you to watch this film." And I watched, and I realized that Xtina couldn't have been white. She wouldn't have been white. Today, I question the grace of our naked Xtina full of praise. Whether touted as yoga, her crane performance was interrupted by officers shooting pepper balls at her feet, or as a ballet, her stocking-capped split was forever captured by one glowing halo of LED police lights. This nameless, clothless woman wore only 2 tiny, dark, and silky braids. As she opened her legs, and she knew that the passing color of her skin, her agency, her future, and her nightmares would survive this gesture, this pressful encounter with the angered feds. So instead, I take a breath, and I imagine Black Xtina stepping out in her natural glory, her naked glory, onto the streets of Portland, Oregon. I hear it's 80% white. As she begins to turn her first pirouette, her teeny weeny afro a sparkling halo in profile, 5 silver bullets find their way above her left nipple, into her left foot, into her right foot, shatter her left ear, and then dejoint her right shoulder. Her chest heaves, her head bangs, her body buckles. "I can't breathe" is written just above the first wound. The other officers cheer and pat the camouflaged shooters on the back. When asked later, "Why did you shoot an unarmed, naked woman?" one federal officer replies, "The masked terrorist looked like she was reaching for a weapon." The other shooters nod, bobbing their rubber heads, and agree. End news cycle. Start a new one tomorrow. This is the way of our world. This is the problem. Black, we are taught as the constant threat, not as Black goddesses of Black renown, of Black goodness, of Black intelligence, of Black strength, of Black war strategy, of Black beauty, and of Black grace. Wasn't that the intended purpose of this woman's protest? To protect, to honor, and to point flex. Her skin was safe. She was safe. The action was safe. She belonged, and she knew it. The bullets would only nip. The blood dripping down her toes would heal in a week. The lights we've lost are forever wildered. Thank you.
Are you all done?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Oh my God. Melissa Christine Goodrum, thank you for a very powerful reading. That was beautiful. Next up is Jennifer Martelli.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me again. Thank you to all the coordinators. This is amazing that we're able to do this. So thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Great, thanks. Why I began writing about vice presidential candidate Geraldine Ferraro. Behind Commonwealth Avenue, next to the old dome temple, they turned into an observatory. The theater premiered Flashdance. After that, no one wore a sweatshirt without the neck hole torn to the shoulder knobs, like Jennifer Beals, who unhooked her bra, pulled it from the sleeve of that big shirt without ever breaking eye contact. Of course, she was a welder during the daytime. I took the one freshman in my dorm who looked like the steel mill owner up to my single room. What I mean is, when my joints pop, when I'm like a maniac on the floor, ghosts come. I don't come to anything in quiet. Maybe it was there on the cold linoleum, maybe against the cinder block bricks. Maybe it was there in the towers with this stupid boy on top of me that I was hopeful I could conjure anybody or thing I wanted. Someone smarter than I must know how many times I've orbited over 3 decades. Everything then is happening again. Back in the 80s, a rich man raped his first wife, and now I have to look at his face every day. Sometimes when my stiff joints pop, women appear and want to talk to me. No matter how carefully I move, these women want to use their tongues. We all know that the dead can't speak, but some can shake rice in a tin sieve. A poet told me the first tambourine was formed in Italian groves where women danced while cleaning rice, and later where women conjured ghosts. My father was an Italian man, so are my husband and my son. I was ashamed to tell them I swapped my father's name for my husband's. The vowels so round at the end, they slipped into my smooth white sockets. No matter how far back I searched, the names were father's names, thick as guns. If I owned a gun, it would have a cool ghost white mother of pearl grip and an exposed silver toned barrel, silver backstrap, slide, and hammer. Its sound would sound more like air sucked out of small pink lungs or finger snaps. No matter how far back I traveled, Avellino, Salerno, Rome, all I found was a man's silver axe, his hammer, a boy, a blacksmith. No matter how I move now, women pop out of me. They sound like guns. And my last one is, thanks, Nancy Pelosi's beads, 1984 to present. She wore Eye of the Tiger, Thrill of the Fight, orange striped beads. They shone. Her tiger eyes shone, even in the photos, they shone like a wet pelt. In the 80s, we all looked like little men with big shoulder pads. Tahitian South Sea pearls, spectacular, emotional, thunderous. Sky blue and gold, sky blue and gold, sky blue and gold, sky blue and gold clasped. How we see the past from the future, gold snake eggs in an owl's beak. Pelosi's beads so dark, they reflected how endless and orbital. I like a story that turns on itself like a wounded animal, a story that curves the way a spine curves, licks itself clean, scented whole. Careless folk confused her mace with a caduceus. She's not here to heal. The mace she pinned to her breast held a pearl atop 13 bound gold rods. Pelosi's jade beads, Easter egg yellow beads, chased beads torqued her throat. Her Makita Masterson beads, blue-black gumballs to choke a horse. She wore them around her neck like war trophies, clasped with two thick red hooks. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer Martelli. That was beautiful. And next up is Martha Collins. Let's hear it from Martha.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, everybody who organized this amazing event. And thank you, my fellow readers and whoever is joining us. I'm going to read two poems. The first is quite recent. Some years ago, the late Jake Adam York embarked on a project of visiting all the sites where Black people were murdered during and often participating in the civil rights movement. When Jake died at 39, the also late John Tribble invited any and all poets to finish Jake's project by visiting the remaining sites and writing about them. Rehearsal. Philadelphia, Mississippi, Luther Jackson, 1932 to 1959. A block from the county courthouse with the Confederate Soldier Memorial, past the jail where the civil rights workers were held while the Klan assembled in '64. Down Bird to Oak to Water to Pine, past magnolias into sweet gum catalpas, into this dead-end cave of trees where he parked one night with a girl and passed out, and Officer Rainey found them and ordered him out of the car and pushed him out of sight of the girl, who heard 2 shots and heard Rainey say, "Come down, I think I have killed a..." And then the coroner's jury said justifiable homicide, and Medgar Evers requested an investigation, but the Justice Department said no violation. And 5 years later, they accused Rainey and 20 others of conspiring to kill the civil rights workers. But 3 years later, Rainey himself was acquitted. And 50 years later, the FBI reopened the Jackson case, but found no police records, no county records, just newspaper files and relative stories. And anyway, Rainey was dead. Of course, I couldn't have been that girl. But if I'd been the white girl I was and lived here and read the papers, would I have questioned justifiable? And if I'd been here 5 years later and read about the civil rights workers, and decades later when Michael, Eric, Tamir, Philando, and all the others, could I? Can I imagine myself in that car at the end of this dead-end street where a man was ordered out of the car and the girl who was with him, who was not me, cried, "You have killed him for nothing." The second poem is from my most recent book, Because What Else Can I Do?, which is a sequence of poems I addressed to my husband following his sudden death in September 2016. This poem is dated November 8, 2016, which of course was election day. In a gesture I think my husband would appreciate, I'm omitting the last 2 lines, which are quite personal. November 8, 2016. The what you will never, the what you missed, the reddening map, the can't be true, the what, the climate, the send them back, the end, the public, the health, the rights, the black, the planet, the white, the how did we fail, the what can we do? Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that was beautiful. Martha Collins, thank you for your reading. And next up is Kat Dossett. Let's hear it for Kat, everyone.
Hey, I'm Kat Dossett. Thanks for inviting me. If you like what you hear, follow me at About a Daughter on social media. Reading. The bus provides interlude between work and home. At home, my room distracts. The threat of work, of chat, but riding, I can bask and read. I take respite in the ambience. The bus babble, the recitation of the usual route, common faces. These days, we pass stops where no one is waiting. The bus itself is nearly empty. These days, I keep my book in my bag, fingers buzzing with the surfaces I've touched. This poem is based on an artwork called Progress. A window hovers in a field. It abstracts the world, a shrine of wood and wire that outlines negative space, hillsong echoed in tin, greenery distilled to glass, undulating treetop rhythm. The shape of a window divides it all. Beyond the stone wall, weed and fern, beyond the field, the world. Here behind the glass, I wonder when the path I've worn will grow, when the spores in my shoes will propagate. Not long ago, I had a dream. My shoes had sprouted overnight. When I woke, the dirt was still wet. My shadow leaked from the window onto the grass below. Sunset behind stream of Anthony Bourdain. Through the worst of it all, I stay very still, shallow breath on my pillow. And it's all pillows, around and underneath me, propping my head and my back and my neck. And the screen before me becomes my eyes and thoughts. And I become a grizzled man who eats food I cannot eat and could not eat even if I could. And I become the tears I cry and the dull need to pee and the crackle of hunger in my belly. And I am the swelling of joy and compassion. I am pride, and I am loneliness of that I witness before my eyes. And I lose feeling in my fingers and toes. And my forehead is thick and dizzy. And I become a man who eats and adores, and I adore. That's all, folks.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kat Dossett, for the beautiful reading. Let's hear it for her. And last up is Simeon Berry. Let's hear it for Simeon.
Hello. Thanks to Bridget and Suzanne and all the organizers for putting this online. I'm so happy to be here with you all in the ether. I'm going to read two poems from this past April when I did NaPoWriMo. And they're both, and the first one is entitled Pamela Theorem. I lost my virginity to someone with a sword twisted from a car's suspension, who carried it around with her even when she wasn't fighting on a chessboard in a Renaissance fair. That plush freshman September in Tampa Bay, where everyone was smarter and made me feel like a Victorian urchin with smudged Virginia Woolf on my cheek. I literally could not speak in the class that trudged back to the speckled moral instruction of Samuel Richardson's Pamela, the very first novel with a world where rape could be thwarted by winsome letter writing. There were white spiders in the air like an Escher print. My roommate was learning Krav Maga, that pitiless Israeli martial art which he liked because most fights end up on the ground anyway. I had no desire for the image of the prep school wrestlers sweating necromantically in garbage bags the night before a match to lose their water weight, then scrape their opponents into flaming oblivion. but my roommate directed his friend, the sword maiden, to remove the vacuum seal on my carnal failure. My hair was a sine wave. I loved stick figures and their geometrical irony. I seemed to walk on spindly, backward-facing hooves into the past, where someone slightly bored in leather pirate boots waited, annotated by the dank industrial perfume of Marlboro Reds, like a proof that in the end, all metaphors failed. The next poem is Single Malt Theorem. I was so insanely good at drinking that it worried me. The gold opals it banked through my veins, the way the air became a purple beaded curtain whose refraction I was forever entering, gloved hands thrown up bashfully like Marilyn Monroe, dressing myself in quips as elaborate as the embroidered smoke in an opium den, my soft shoe never sticking to my shadow. And not once slurred sex or vomit or catastrophic fall until I hit an even 10 and suffered the only hangover of my life, watching the fleshy cinematography of Harold and Maude, the metaphysical dread palpable as the smell of a black dog in the bed with me, its morbid emanations all through my bones, like lying in a cold frying pan, like opening a window into dark earth, into which night I could just about see all the way back to my aunt's house, that rainy Tuesday afternoon of a country the week before the last utility fails and the education minister starts wearing a lot of epaulets and talking about the sacrifices asked of our noble tradesmen. We'd sit at her kitchen table as if after a long campaign with a succession of pleasureless German shepherds and revisit the minor grievances of her week, watching a single murky cube sink into indistinguishability as she sipped pissy scotch and the French horns of the easy listening radio station bellowed into their yellowing pillows. Thanks so much.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Simeon Berry. And I want to thank all of our readers for this set. Darren Black, Shari Caplan, Clay Ventre, Melissa Christine Goodrum, Jennifer Martelli, Martha Collins, Kat Dossett, Simeon Berry. Next up in our next set is David Miller, Jessica Bozick, Pam Matz, Erica Kaufman, Jessica DeConick, Cheryl Boyce Taylor, Kenning J.P. Garcia, Vanessa Pacheco, Corey Howard, and Ariella Ruth. We're going to take a short break and then we will be right back. Thanks, everyone. Let's see.